Can you tell we're very awkward? I'm nervous to film this video.
Well, hello, people of our community.
Hi.
We are near San Francisco at this beautiful spot with lots of birds. We wanted to film this video for you. So the first thing that we wanted to talk about is what's this video about, and what are Natalie and I doing in our relationship? What are we doing?
Well, the best word for it is transitioning. This is the word we've come up with, but it is us deciding to move out of our relationship in the sense of romantic relationship.
Romantic, long-term, committed relationship. So to let go of that part.
And moving into a space of continuing to do work together, business partnership, friendship, and lovers.
Yeah, and I want to speak to something also, is that it's like something that I've gotten crystal clear on throughout this process of just opening up to this transition, is that it's much more a process of letting go of just expectations of what I wanted the relationship to look like, and visions of, and like things I learned of what relationship is supposed to look like that I've internalized both consciously and subconsciously. And also to let go of ways that I've been holding on to, like kind of clingy, needy energy that has, that plays a role in my relationships for sure. And just letting go of control. And surrender is a word that Natalie and I have really been coming to us, to really surrender to what wants to take shape between us. And there's this concept that we have really, that's just brought a lot of awareness to this process, which is that the idea that the form of the relationship, so it's what the relationship looks like, whether it's like an open relationship or monogamous, or you're together or you're apart, or any kind of
long distance, or you're living together, or you're married.
Any shade in that palette is in service of honoring the connection. It's whatever is going to bring the most energy and openness and spaciousness and aliveness and love to the relationship is what dictates how the relationship looks. So that's where we're coming from in making this transition.
And the decision to make the transition, because for the last 6 months maybe, maybe longer than that, but we've been, and we'll get into that a little bit too, of kind of how we got to where we got now, but it's really helped to have that at the forefront of how can we relate, what does the relationship look like, so that we can really always maintain the special connection that we have, that Bob and I have, and that's stronger today than it was when we started. It's because we've been really intentionally cultivating that this whole time. Yeah, so to put it really concretely, what are we doing?
We're letting go of the long-term romantic vision of our relationship, and we're continuing to live into the aspect of lovers. There's still a lot of chemistry here. We're continuing to live into the aspect of our relationship as working together, as being business partners, and have been deepening, and just more vision opening up, and more love and more connection to our work together has been opening up for us. And continuing to live into the deep friendship that we have. So just letting go of this one part, this one piece of the vision, and creating space for us to really live into these other aspects of our relationship. Yeah. So why? How we're able to do this. What lets us be able to do this? I'm curious to hear you. What lets you be able to do this with so much love?
I think because I've had so many relationships that have been very unconscious and more unintentional, that coming into this one with Bob, I was so clear that we were going to set it up in a way that we always were conscious of what our needs and wants and desires were, and making sure that we could help each other have that. And so if that means at a certain point we're not aligned, or our wants and needs don't match up, like even time-wise, that we get to really have that intention of making sure we're both getting, met.
And when you said time-wise, I think what you meant is like we both ultimately want the same thing long-term, like super similar visions, but right now we're at a spot where we need different kinds of, exploration, and we need some different things for our own healing and processes of just being people. So just we want the same things, but the timelines don't quite align in this moment. Yeah. For that vision of long-term relationship.
Yeah. So because of that intention coming in, and we were very intentional in the beginning, like from the dating phase of, what do you want? What does a relationship look like to you? How do you want to feel in a relationship? What are the qualities? Like, how can we really set it up in a way that we're making sure we're the best people we can be in a relationship, and kind of continuing that through. So funny, like the zooming of it.
Hoping they could hear us a little better.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, like really being intentional, like designing it from the very beginning, having love for self and love for the other, being the kind of guiding light through the whole thing, has had us do that. And also super fucking honest communication the whole time. Yeah. Even the things you don't want to say, the things you're scared to say.
That we're scared to say.
That we believe you shouldn't say.
Like we've talked about the things that I felt like was the last thing I should ever talk about, which was like attraction, like my attraction, and like to Natalie, or like pieces of lack of attraction that I felt, and like attraction to other body types versus her body type, and like wanting to be with other people romantically and sexually, and
I'm not going to say that wasn't painful to hear either, by the way, but on the other side of that is because I want to know where Bob's at. I want to know how he's feeling instead of holding that stuff up, because I can feel it anyway, right? And so just we were both very, again, intentional in holding a loving, non-judgmental space for the other person to be able to share that, and then do the work in a loving way, like share that in a loving way, and then us each personally doing the work to like not take it personally, to really love them through that experience and what's happening. Because it was really scary for Bob to bring all that stuff up. Like, he's had hurt around like sex and feeling freed up there, and feeling like caged in for a really long time. And so like it would, for me to just come back to this place of like really being empathetic and compassionate for his experience, so that he could feel more freed up even in that. Like, he doesn't have to hold that in like it's a secret and continue to feel shamed by it.
And that's
and
a good way to
guilty.
put it, is we don't keep secrets.
Yeah.
And intentional is a really good word, because I'm not just like, blah, here's all this stuff, like, oh, welcome home, Natalie, blah, by the way.
I'm gonna emotionally vomit all over you.
We're really intentional. We check in with each other. We say, hey, there's something up that I want to talk about. And oftentimes, actually, the thing that I love is that Natalie and I, and this is a little bit of what has allowed this for me, is that Natalie and I have both done enough of our personal work at this point that even the parts that are hard for me about things that Natalie wants or does, I've initiated a good number of those conversations, because I can feel it on her end. I'm very intuitive, and I can feel it when something's not out in the open.
Yeah,
and even though it's
expressed.
Yeah, and even though it's challenging and scary for me, I am clear that what hurts more is blocking intimacy between us. So I'll say, hey, what's up? Or like, hey, I'm wondering if like this thing needs to be talked about, and usually I'm on.
Yeah. vice versa. Because it's true, like, we're both very intuitive people, and I think people are intuitive in general, and we've gotten more intuitive because every time something kind of comes up, we check in with the other person, like, hey, I'm feeling this thing. Like, is there merit behind it? Is something happening on your end?
Yeah, I may not even know what it's about at all, but I'm just like, I'm feeling this certain way. Is there anything on your end?
Yeah. And so to get that kind of validated time and time again, I think even just talking about it now, I realize that's probably why, like, our intuition has strengthened over time, because we've had a place to practice it with each other, to, like, to check in and just, like, is there anything over there? And even if it's, like, way later, because he might not know what's happening for him. We've had that a couple times with each other of, I feel something that's happening for him before he even knows. But we'll just keep kind of circling back to it, and then eventually it kind of, like, the loop gets closed.
And it's this piece that Natalie and I have been talking about validating, like, having conscious validation for our intuition is so important, because otherwise we feel crazy. And Natalie totally had this experience of, like, feeling totally crazy, of feeling something, and well, why don't you share just a little bit about?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to say that I think so many of us have this experience in relationship where we make ourselves wrong for feeling a certain way, or we're like, why am I feeling this way, or what's going on with me, and really knowing and honoring that that's intuition is so important, and having an open space where it can actually get validated by the other person is super important.
And just speaking about validation, the other thing is validating each other's, like, feelings, not just intuition, but you know, the times that I've been jealous, like, in the beginning it was hard because Bob really wasn't able to be with my jealousy, because as we were navigating you know, an open relationship and what that would look like and how we would do it, like, all of this jealousy came up for me, and it was really fucking hard to be with it. And at that time it just was, like, triggering Bob's stuff too, and so he wasn't able to kind of validate that for me and be with it. It was just like, I don't understand. And especially, like, when it came to, like, the work setting, and, like, it got fucking messy. It was really messy. But when we got to the place of being able to at least just say, like, I understand how you're feeling, I understand why you would feel like that, that totally makes sense. Like, that's all we need to hear. You know, a lot of times, like, I just don't want to feel like...
Just for me to take a breath and actually listen and check in for the part of me that can empathize, even if it's a small part in the moment, to check in and find the place in me that can empathize, and let her know that I can empathize.
Yeah, so all of those things, and that's just really, you know, the other piece of how we've been able to do this, you know, have this transition and do it with such love and care and compassion, is we've also then been doing the work together. Like, we've done our own personal work, we continue to do our own personal work.
And we have great personal support structures, and then we do the work together. We've had couples sessions with coaches and therapists, and
gone to workshops together, and really implement the exercises. You know, we did this awesome listening exercise for 21 days so that we could really hone that muscle of active listening and empathy and validation and acknowledgement. And even from the beginning, Bob had this really cool exercise we would do every night of sharing with each other what we were proud of or what our favorite things for the day, the things we were proud of or celebrating individually, and then we would acknowledge the other person. And
so, like, every single day we acknowledge each other. Every night we acknowledge each other.
And so, like, all of these things have really helped to create this awesome, amazing foundation that will weather any storm. Like, the openings, the closings, the times where it's kind of unclear, and transitions, because we've had a number of times where it felt like a chapter was closing and another chapter was opening, and that's what it kind of feels like this time for us too. Of, like, there's a chapter, a chapter closing and another chapter is opening for us.
So why?
The
why for me is really simple. It's because like, when I get past my own hurts and my own, like, clinginess and my own wanting to hold on to a vision and a certain idea of relationship and like my little boy wanting to hold on to Natalie and have her be my mom and stuff like this. And when I get past of that stuff, I feel into a lot of expansiveness. It feels open. It feels freeing for both of us. It feels like it's honoring the love, the really strong love that's present in our relationship. For me, it's that simple.
No, and I think I would go into why for you of just why even have a transition.
Sure. Oh, what personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how I'm still, just realizing how much I felt, like Natalie was saying, I felt very caged in and closed down around sex and intimacy and just relating to women in general for my whole life. And I've really been realizing how much sexual trauma has been passed down to me, generational trauma from, down through the chains of my parents, grandparents, ancestors, and so on. Because it didn't make sense, like my parents didn't talk about sex a whole lot, but there was nothing acutely traumatic that ever happened in my family. But it's just clicking into place of like, wow, there's all this sexual pain from down my family lineage that I am working out at this point in my life, and I need a really safe, open space to just be free and explore and stretch myself and not have to worry about somebody else's feelings. And that's a really deep need that I have in order to heal and let go of these old hurts that aren't even mine, and just be able to show up in the world confidently and feeling empowered and feeling at ease and playful and joyful and all of these things. So
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
You didn't fuck it up. Yeah, and my why, I mean, this was hard for me for a lot of our relationship. We'll get into kind of challenges too, but I can feel the part of Bob that really needs that, and as someone that loves him and wants that healing for him, I want that for him. I really do. Like, I logically get it, and I've actually been coming into this place of actually personally getting it, because there's a way that I also have had a part of my sexuality that I haven't expressed and have made, I don't know if I made it wrong, but it just was like not okay to go there. Not okay to...
Go ahead.
What are you gonna say?
I was going to say, in what part is that? Start with just like a short story about your brother.
Yeah, so my brother is gay, and when he came out to my mom, like, she freaked the fuck out, and it was so hard and traumatic in the house. Like, we never used the G word, and like my poor brother felt like this huge part of who he was and his identity was just like ignored, and it was just a phase for him. And we had a friend in our life that was kind of excommunicated because my mom thought he was influencing my brother and like making him gay, and so just seeing that, and at the time I was also kind of working through my attraction to women too, and feeling like I think I'm bisexual, but I don't know, and but then seeing that, and combined with this other instance of my mom just like freaking out about something with me and just being like, I'm just afraid you're gonna become a lesbian, and it just like totally shut me down and just implanted this thing of like, that is not okay, that part of me is not okay. And so it's just been on lockdown, and I've had experiences, luckily, but always in the shadow, like maybe a few of like my super close friends knew, but nobody else besides that.
And it sounded like a lot of them involved drinking.
Oh yeah, always like in this kind of checked out accidental way. Like maybe one experience was like really intentional, but always, yeah, in this kind of like checked out, drinking involved, partying place. And so this year, as Bob was going through his, like, what do I want, what do I need, especially around sex, as painful as it was, it fucking forced me to have to ask that for myself. Like, okay, if this relationship really is going to give us a space of, like, freedom for us to free ourselves up and really look at what we want and what we need, it's like that's the one area of my life that still has a lot of hurt there. And so giving myself permission to explore that and heal that, like heal it, and just really intentionally, like, what would it be like to really explore being with a woman sexually and emotionally too, because all those other times were just like super casual sex, and there wasn't heart there, and intention and love there too. And so like that was kind of what opened up for me, and just realizing, like, oh, okay, this transition is like actually both of us like having this really deep hurt place that really needs like to heal, because then how can we like be here together if we're both still like hurting, right, and like wounded and so like bleeding from that wound? It's just so just feeling for Bob too, because I'm so clear I want a life partner. Like, I'm so fucking clear, and I've been really clear from the beginning, and it was hard to feel Bob kind of like back and forth. And so that was a part of it too, of like, if you're not there, it's okay, but then we need to just like be where we're at, which is like going back to a place of it feeling like dating, or just feeling like we both have our lives and we're getting solid. And when you can meet me there, awesome. And if you don't want to ever meet me there, that's fine too. Like, there will be someone else that wants that same thing.
Which is hard for me to hear, but it's the reality. Every time you say that, I'm like, oh, I want it to be me. And see, we're like, we came on smiling and are feeling pretty happy, but we've been crying our eyes out for like 2 days processing this stuff and coming to completion about this chapter of our relationship, and getting clean and getting clear. So we've been doing a lot of emotional processing and a lot of sharing and a lot of learning and a lot of growing and deepening. It's been very intentional. Yeah, and I think this is the part of this intentional closing of this chapter has actually healed a lot of the things that were happening that were hard during, because we've like shown a loving light there too, and like I got to feel into that part of Bob that was really hurting in a way I hadn't the whole time, because my defenses and hurt was like every time he would talk about like wanting to be with somebody else, like that abandoned part of me would come up and be like, why am I not enough for you? And like my hurt would come up, and it just like would come on him, and then it would dampen that part of him that was like, I just want to be seen for the part of me that's hurting, right? And it just like, it's just that place where our needs are butting heads. And totally would hook each other, and so to have this time has been it's one of the blessings to do this. Well, we've spent the last 3 weeks traveling basically, and talking and closing and sharing, and we had spent the month before that apart, just getting grounded in ourselves and what we wanted, and then 3 weeks together, and then I'm traveling for a while, and so this is really like flying away today. We're on the way to the airport and on to the next chapter. And I'll be back in Los Angeles, and we'll see what unfolds. So, what was it? Challenges and blessings. Okay, and maybe because we got to get going before too long. Yeah. It's 25 minutes here, so let's just kind of like highlight a few. Yeah, they don't need to be. Yeah. Okay. What's been your biggest challenge in this transition? Feeling like taking it personally that Bob wants space was the first thing that comes to mind. Like,
that he needs to go do his thing. Like I took it so personally, like that I'm not, something's wrong with me, like he doesn't want me, and he doesn't love me, came up for me. And also just also the part of me that wants a life partner. I'm so ready for it, and just feeling like, fuck, again, you know, like that, I have to start over. And you know, even though it's not necessarily true, but it just like brought that stuff up for me again of like, man, I thought Bob was the one. And that stuff came up, and I had to like work through that. That was really challenging. And then just feeling my longing again, like just that longing for someone to like build a life with. I'm so ready for that. And it was a little challenging. It is still challenging because we love each other so much still, and that like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing this? Why can't we just figure this out?
We have everything.
Everything else is fine.
There, yeah.
What? And then trying to get all creative about like, okay, well maybe if we just like do a like 6-month break, and then we check back in, and then trying to get all crafty around like how we can do this so it doesn't feel like a literal like letting go, but that is what we need.
Well, and that ties into one of my biggest, and I know yours also, but definitely one of my biggest challenges has been really surrendering to my known sense for what wants to happen between us, which is really to like let go of expectations for what our life is going to look like, to both not expect that we're going to end up together for life, and also to leave that possibility open. And there is a very real possibility that will happen.
Yeah.
That will come back together in the perfect way at the perfect time.
Yeah, because life is long, and we don't know, and it's like 6 months, a year, 2 years in the grand scheme of things is very small in the bigger picture of life and relationship.
Yeah, but just letting go of control, realizing how much control I'm wanting to exert over our relationship, and letting go of that has been a challenge. And for me, I feel like I'm freezing slightly. What's been another one of my biggest challenges?
I know, I was like, I'll tell you because I know him. But really to like assert what he wants, and really to continue to come back to like, no, I really need this. Like, I really need this.
And that's been a central thing in our relationship, even from like the open earlier days when we were figuring out like how an open relationship might look, is like she still was even calling me out. She's like, you just need to go fuck hot chicks. And I was like, oh God, I do. I just need a chance to go kind of like be that, how would I describe it? That dude who just like goes and...
Yeah, just that really like open exploratory time where we just get to like really stretch our edges, right? Yeah. When it comes to sex. Like I've had that. I needed that. I had it a couple times over. And Bob hasn't, and he needs that. He really does. It's vital. Like I get how vital that is. Yeah,
and Natalie it's such a hard part for me to own, and Natalie has called it out before me sometimes, before I have. So for me, really owning that and getting clear on that and leading with my desires and my wants is a huge piece of work. Mm-hmm. And through this transition too, like there's a part of me that feels like I'm doing a really crappy job of being a man, because Natalie has been the one who got clear first, and she's been the one who has led, at least initially, who has led this transition of saying like, can't be together in this way. And I cried for a while and got on board also, but I want to be clear on what I want and be able to lead from that place, rather than just like getting dragged around by the situation that's in front of me.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll do a quick blessing.
Yeah.
And then just what's next?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, the blessing is like how much love and support and openness and expansiveness and freedom that I feel between us, within me, in my life, everywhere.
I think the blessing is. It's healing a lot for me in what breakups are supposed to be. I've had not great breakups where I still wanted to be in contact and they didn't, and like vice versa, and just really painful, and like one or both of us like really being in pain around it. And I also have this abandonment thing, like that they're gonna go away, you know, after like what happened to the love? You know, what happened to the love? We were loving each other this whole time, and now you've like disappeared out of my life. Like,
and I'm like, I'm not going away.
I know. And so just to like continue to come back to that of like, Bob's not going anywhere. Like, if anything, we're just like, it just, again, the form of the relationship is changing. Like, we still love each other so much and still want to create all these really beautiful things in the world together and learn from each other and help each other heal, like be really good friends. We've been really good friends this whole time. Like, that still gets to be present. And, yeah. It's really healing. It's a blessing. So what's next?
What's next?
For Natalie and Bob.
So we did some beautiful visioning in our business, and we set our mission is to intimately heal 10,000 hearts around the world. And that means like face to face, heart to heart, doing work with people in person. And it's a long-term vision for doing our healing work. We're just getting more and more clarity around supporting men, around their pains around sex and intimacy and relationship, and deepening into that. And it's just such, like, there's so much love flowing through us, like through this like heart work that Natalie and I have come together to create. There's so much love flowing through it and going out to the world, and it's incredible to see that deepening and just like dramatically more clarity and more money. And so that's next.
Yeah, that's definitely next. And we've also been talking again about, as we had paused, Sex the Podcast.
Sex the Podcast!
Sex the Podcast!
We're gonna, it's not, are we gonna? Yes, let's.
Yes!
We're gonna start doing Sex the Podcast again.
That also needed a break and a transition, and we let it do its thing, and now it's gonna change
form
a little bit, where we're kind of gonna come back in and do the parts we love and delegate the parts we don't, and do it in a way that feels really good. And especially because something that's been a core piece of our relationship that now shows up in our businesses, like, it's always felt really effortless with us, really magical and really fun. Even in the challenging parts, it's felt effortless.
There's a quality of effortlessness still.
Yeah, quality of it.
It doesn't feel like we're fighting, like we're trying to walk our way upriver.
Yeah, like just being able to move
like we're navigating around the boulders and being like, fuck, did we just crash into that? But then getting back on our boat.
Yeah. Still in one piece. We're still alive. So yeah, just that piece of effortlessness, magic and fun is coming back in with Sex the Podcast, and so we get to really do that, which is so fun. And also what's next is, like, again, this deeper layer of support for other people. And just because all the things we've learned, you know, in relationship, in both the beginning, the middle, and the end, and this transition, like, there's just so much we can help teach other people around it, so that
Which is why we're filming this video.
Yeah.
This feels vulnerable, by the way.
So feels vulnerable. Are you kidding me?
It's like, what are people going to think about our work? We're frauds because we're not actually together anymore. But I settle into, like, no, it's like modeling this, because we don't have models for this stuff, and that we are able to do this and continue to do this with so much love and still maintain our connection and honor that connection is so needed.
Yeah.
And there's such a beautiful lesson for us and other people we've talked to are like, thank you for sharing this with me. Like, having a model for how loving a relationship transition can be really opens me up to new possibilities, and that's what our work is about.
Yeah, so, and then in the personal, what's next is just, we are gonna grow and learn and expand and heal and also still be such anchors for each other in that way. Like, I'm very clear about that in a year from now we're gonna be even stronger in relationship and love, because we're still together loving and supporting each other in that really like universal love kind of way, limitless love kind of way, where it's not about the frame of it, right? It's just that quality of just unconditional love.
Yeah.
So that's what's next. And
what's next? Some travel.
Yeah.
Moving. Natalie's going back to California, and I'll be in California in mid-May, and
I'm gypsying it up for the rest of the year again, which is awesome.
And
so it is.
And so it is. So we love you so much.
Yeah, thank you as a community, as whatever role you've played in our lives. It's meant so much to have that love and support and understanding and cheering on and empathy and encouragement.
Yeah.
All of that has meant a lot to us. Yeah.
We love you.
We love you so much, and
I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, and thank you. If you've made it this far, you're a fucking rock star.
You're a love champion. So we're checking out from the beautiful birds.
Beautiful bay.
In the beautiful bay. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening.
Yeah, and stay tuned. Good
For
shit's
Sex,
coming.
the podcast,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.